Before we begin our video, we'd like to thank NordVPN for sponsoring us and helping us bring you a video every day this October. But have you ever wondered what a VPN can actually help with? Sure, it's a great way to mask your IP address and keep you safe from hackers and cyber criminals, but it does a lot more than that. You can book trips virtually from a different country to get better prices, access streaming services which you can't do from home. You can shop from foreign sites with added security and even find lower subscription costs, all while keeping your online identity and details safe. That's why we choose NordVPN and highly recommend that you do as well. Check out the link in the description for more information. And with 68% off for our viewers and a month for free, we did and haven't looked back since, and we're sure you won't either. Now let's get started with this video. This is the second of our 4 viewer submission videos we'll be uploading this month. We love these personal experiences. They are original and cannot be seen on any other channel. As usual, we would like to thank all those who send in their experiences, and we are sorry that we cannot feature all of them. So, without further ado, hit those lights, sit back, and enjoy. The Creepy Fireface. This first one is unusual, but we found it pretty creepy. It was sent in by Nathan, who lives in Grove City, Ohio. Before we show you it, here is a bit of background to the story. For years, Nathan has been convinced that the house he lives in is haunted. The house was built in 1955, specifically for returning veterans of the Korean War. The first and original owners were Woody and Norma. Woody was a Korean War veteran and died at some point in the house. Nothing tragic, just died in his sleep. After his death, Norma decided to sell the house. Nathan and his young family bought the house in 2015 and have had very strange things happen there. They often see shadows walking across doorways and in the hall, as well as hearing someone or something walking up the stairs, to the point that they can hear individual footsteps. On one occasion, Nathan was taking a shower when he heard his son say, "Hey Daddy, clear as day on the other side of the shower curtain. He answered back, but got no reply. When he opened the curtain, no one was there, so he went into the bedroom and found his son and wife fast asleep together. His wife later confirmed their son hadn't gone into the bathroom. What was even stranger is that Nathan is also a combat vet, and he has permanent hearing loss as a result of his service. However, he heard his son's voice as clear as day, even though he wasn't there. The family have always believed there is something spooky going on in their house, so when Nathan's son took a photo of a fire they had burning in the side yard, they were horrified to see the image within it. Take a look. This picture is real, and Nathan assures us it has not been tampered with in any way, but you can clearly see a creepy looking face in the flames. Nathan has told us his family are one of the original families that settled and founded Grove City, Ohio, and he's had strange stuff happening to him his whole life. But this has increased since moving into this house. In the 1800s, his family helped bury the dead, but if the ground was too frozen, they would store the corpses in tombs and bury them in the springtime. Could all this activity be linked to his family's past? Or is this a case of pareidolia? What do you think? Alex live cam apparition. This one isn't exactly a personal experience, but it was something that Alex spotted on a live cam. Alex lives in Duluth, a port city in the US state of Minnesota, home to the Duluth Ship Canal, where this next creepy apparition was captured. Duluth Ship Canal is an artificial canal cut through Minnesota Point, providing direct access to Duluth Harbor from Lake Superior. And as some of you may know, Lake Superior is regarded as one of the most haunted bodies of water, not only in Minnesota, but in the whole of the US. There have been countless tales of ghost ships, lost souls, and mystery shipwrecks, as well as unknown creatures lurking in its depths. For this reason, many people view the live cams that dot around the area to see if they can spot anything unusual. Well, Alex did just that, and in the early hours of August 20th, 2020, a live cam from Duluth Harbour picked up a ghostly translucent figure walking across the grass. Here is the footage. As the ship was arriving into the harbour, if you look in front of the tugboat in the left bottom corner, you can clearly see something walk across the lawn. Take a look. It's worth pointing out that the camera streams only in 720p, so it could be a glitch, although we have to admit it looks very much like a person with fairly distinguishable steps. Alex has watched plenty of ships pass through the canal, but has never seen anything like this before. So could it be the ghost of a lost sailor returning to shore, or can it be explained by light reflection or a beam from the passing ship? What do you think? Unexplained baby monitor anomaly. Nanny cams are increasingly picking up weird unexplained anomalies as they monitor babies sleeping. And Faye, one of our viewers, noticed something strange on her daughter's monitor that freaked her out. Faye lives in Saskatoon, Canada. The house she lives in with her family is a new house and has no particular history. But one evening she noticed her husband watching the baby monitor, and she asked him what he was looking at. When she took a look, she was freaked out at what she saw and grabbed her phone and started recording. Take a look at this.
These guys always send me the menu if I don't want it. Yeah, it's trippy though, hey?
I don't know what that is.
I know it is weird.
Now, we have seen this type of thing before. They appear to be non-threatening, and some believe they are the hands of a past relative soothing the baby. Others put the occurrences down to insects or passing cars, although Faye told us that the room has blackout blinds, so she is not sure how this could happen. What do you make of it? A house full of activity. Now, this next one has no photographs or footage, although we think the description and experience is creepy enough without them. Also, we know the area, and parts of it do have an eerie vibe. It's quite long, but it's an extraordinary example of a house full of unexplained occurrences and creepy energy. Shannon and her partner Andy started renting a property in a town called Stroud in the country of Gloucestershire, UK. They were both thrilled as the property was perfect for them and their 2 cats. It was a gorgeous 16th century cottage on the outskirts of the town. The cottage was a former hop mill that had been turned into a residential property in the mid-1800s. As soon as they went inside, they fell in love with the place, although Shannon did notice the atmosphere in one of the upstairs bedrooms and the front room downstairs felt a bit heavy. The day they moved in, their landlord met them and talked them through the workings of the house. He also mentioned that the staircase was not original and had been taken from a theatre in Oxfordshire and installed in the house. The relevance of this will become apparent later. After moving in, they decided to use the back bedroom as their main one. Incidentally, this was the room Shannon felt a strange atmosphere. That first night, as they lay in bed chatting, Shannon felt the atmosphere change and get heavy and dark. Then she started to see small silver and blue lights appear in the air. They were about the size of a 5p coin and appeared to glide slowly through the air, leaving a glowing after trail behind them. Shannon was surprised that Andy could see them as well. The bedroom was facing away from the road, so they didn't think it could be car headlights, as they moved erratically in arcs. The phenomenon lasted about 10 minutes before slowly fading, and the atmosphere lifted. From that day, the couple started to experience strange things happening around the house. One of the most common was to hear footsteps walk up and down the stairs and landing. This scared Shannon very much when she first heard it, as she was alone at the time, and it was loud enough for her to think it was a burglar. So much so, she hid in the back room and called Andy. But when he came home and checked, no one was there. Another common occurrence was that objects and ornaments moved around. They would find heavy ornaments carefully placed on the floor and also in the hallway, a whole room away from where they had been originally. They would also randomly find large pine cones placed on the stairs and on the sofa, even though they were not near any pine trees and didn't have any pine cones as ornaments in the house. The couple got used to the strange occurrences, although Shannon did feel uncomfortable when she was in the house on her own, especially in the front room, which was a long-panelled reception room with a big fireplace. The fireplace had a heavy iron grate that they would find moved across the room seemingly by itself. In this room, it always felt like someone was standing in the corner watching them. A year went by with these strange things happening that mostly unconcerned them until the activity seemed to get more intense. One of the first things to happen was that the basement door started opening by itself. This was strange as it had a knob that you had to physically turn to open and then pull it hard. It would also jam quite easily, and sometimes they would have to get a knife to unjam it. They would come down in the morning and the door would be wide open, sometimes with the basement light on as well. Then the electrics started to go haywire. Andy had a computer tower in the bedroom with a large push-down button that you had to hold down to turn on. It made a very loud and characteristic whoosh sound when it started up, but it started to turn itself on quite often, most notably at 5 AM in the morning when they were both asleep. It's worth pointing out that once they moved out of the house, that same computer has never done anything like it since. But it wasn't just the computer. The TV and the light also turned on by itself, and often the bedroom window would fling open in the middle of the night. One of the scariest things that ever happened to them was when they started to hear voices around the house, and if either of them used the toilet on the landing, they would sometimes hear what they can only describe as a deep male mumbling outside of the door. Andy also experienced someone tapping on the door, and Shannon frequently heard her name being called from different parts of the house by a female voice. Shannon decided to make an Ouija board from paper and tried to contact the spirit to see what it wanted. Nothing happened, except that she felt very uncomfortable afterwards, so much so that she threw the Ouija board in the rubbish bin outside. 2 days later, the Ouija paper reappeared on the coffee table, seemingly unmarked. This scared her so much that she decided to burn it. Around this time, Shannon asked her dad to come over for lunch, and he brought his dog, a lovely big Akita, who was a very gentle dog and rarely growled or got aggressive. However, the dog was incredibly reluctant to come through the front door, and when he did, they could not move him from a spot just below the staircase. He stood rigid, all of his fur on end and his ears back, and just growling up the stairs for 20 minutes before yelping and running into the front room. These are just a few of the strange things that happened whilst they lived in the house. Others include Andy having sleep paralysis for the first time ever and screaming after seeing a white figure approaching slowly up the bed. Shannon seeing a lady in an old-fashioned nurse's uniform in a dream walking into the bedroom and smiling at her. An ornament flying gently off a unit while they watched and landing gently on the floor. During the last days of living in the house, 2 strange things happened. They were both in bed reading. On the back of the bedroom door was a hook, and on the hook hung a relatively large slate heart. Suddenly the heavy heart swung upwards in the air, as if someone was holding it, and then slammed back down so hard into the door that it made the frame shake. They both leapt up and checked the landing outside the bedroom. It was freezing cold and had an extremely unfriendly feel, but there was nothing there. Then, on their very last day, they had help moving out from Andy's parents. Shannon had hung up the original pictures back on the wall in the front room, and they were all very secure. Shortly before they were due to leave, Andy and his mum had an altercation with a neighbour over parking, so things were a bit heated, when suddenly there was a huge crack from the front room. When they rushed to look, all the pictures that Shannon had carefully hung were all over the floor. The string was intact, as were the hooks they had been on. The family made a hasty retreat and never returned. It's worth mentioning that since the couple moved out of the house, it has been let out several times, but no one stays there longer than a few months. The face in the window. This one was sent in by Maria, who has lived in Scotland for nearly 8 years. As many of you know, Scotland is a country full of history and legends, and is also the location of many of the world's most iconic castles. Maria has always been fascinated by castles and their often bloody history, and on the 30th of September 2019, Maria, her partner, and a friend visited Dumbarton Castle. Dumbarton Castle has the longest recorded history of any castle in Scotland, and sits high on a plug of volcanic basalt known as Dumbarton Rock. Records date back to the 5th century, however it's probably best known as the place Mary Queen of Scots was brought to as a 5-year-old child in 1548, to keep her safe after the English victory at Pinkie. The young queen stayed at the castle for 6 months and almost died from smallpox she contracted during her stay. After Mary's reign, Dumbarton Castle became a garrison fortress, a military fort rather than a royal castle, and went on to serve as a state prison. In 1790, the building known as the French prison was built and used to hold prisoners seized during the Napoleonic Wars. Today, there is not much left of the castle itself, but it has some buildings that are still in good condition, and one of those buildings is the French prison. This is the place Maria took a photograph that appears to show a creepy looking face in the window. Even before Maria took the photograph, she spotted the face looking out of the second floor window, and quickly took a photo on her phone. It's worth pointing out the building was locked for safety reasons, so no one was in there at the time. Maria did call her friends over to see if they could see anything, but they could not see it. It wasn't until Maria zoomed in on the photo that she saw it. After showing her partner and her friend, they both agreed they could now see a face, although some others she had shown have differing opinions on what the image is, with some seeing someone wearing a helmet, while others like Maria see a child. What do you see? So that's it for this video, and thank you to all the people who send in their stories, photos and videos. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you right back here tomorrow for another creepy video.